Okay, Hector, we're painting the butt ends.
His name's Julio.
The butt ends are painted, Hector.
Hey Julio, how come we have to paint the butt ends?
You asking me or are you asking Julio?
Well,
about the butt
he's
ends?
not here.
Oh, he's not
Hey
here.
Kyle, how come we have to paint the butt ends?
Well, we're deciding to not caulk our butt joints. We're going to do slip sheets behind.
So no more caulking of butt joints, just slip sheets on the butt.
No butt joints caulking, just slip sheets behind the butt joints, at the butt joints, and we have to put an additional layer of primer on the butt joints.
On the butt joints,
Yeah.
okay.
We are all the way up to part 3 on balloon framing. This is our last wall, and I am not going to belabor it, I promise. First 2 videos were pretty long. The last wall goes on the right-hand side of the house. What we're doing here is we're squaring it. So just to answer some of the questions that we get, how do you make sure that your wall is plumb once you've lifted it? Well, how do we know that a square is a square or a rectangle is square? That's a bit of a mind bomb for you, because all squares are rectangles, but rectangles are not squares. Remember, a rectangle has 2 sets of parallel lines, but a square has 2 sets of equal parallel. Anyway, so our top and bottom plates are cut at exactly the same time, and therefore they are exactly the same length. So all we have to do is square the wall. Since the top and bottom are exactly the same length, we pull diagonals, and once those are the same length, we know it's square. Something to remember when you do this. If you're 1/4 of an inch out, so let's just say this number was 200 and the other side was 200 1/4. I only need to move it 1/8 to make it perfectly square. So there's some Euclidean plane geometry for you. Moving on, because something tells me I might have just stated all of that incorrectly. Well, if it is, please post it in the comments below and we'll address it. Here's our standard way of doing our closed soffits. Remember, we've drawn out our bird's mouth so we know how far down to snap a line that the underside of the subfascia will be. So 2x6 gets nailed to the double top plates, 13 1/4 inch blocks get put in, plus the plates, that gives us 16 1/4, and that's LP vented soffit. Easy.
Okay, we are getting ready to side this bad boy. We will be timing it because nobody is fast at siding horizontal walls than Awesome Framers. Hey Kyle, where'd you get that sweet hat?
Yeah, some dude gave it to me.
It's pretty cool. If you guys look real close on the hats, that's Kyle up on the roof. And that's me doing my best impression of Freddy Krueger.
I'm the one always working.
Yeah.
We are going to lay out this wall for siding. So what we do, our siding is 7 7/8 tall. Pick an arbitrary number to hang down past the mud sill. Right now we're going 1.5 inches. Mark 7 7/8, that's the top of the piece of siding. Then the remainder, measure, is about 5 1, 5 2. Burn that at the bottom of your bottom plate. We go increments of 6 for our tops. Find an increment of 6, right here is 24. That is
what's the next one after 24?
20.
It's just 6 and 12.
2'6".
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always exciting. This is the last big wall, the last time we're going to install some siding, and it's almost lunchtime. So we're setting a goal to see how quickly we can get it done.
Okay, mark the time. See how long this takes us. I say it'll take us less than 3 days.
I hope not.
How long do you think it'll take?
Half an hour.
Half an hour, okay.
So let me walk you through our approach to siding. On the right and left-hand sides of that wall, we've taped the zip panel and we've wrapped it to the side of the stud. Then we snap 1 inch, a parallel line all the way to the top. We do that on one side, and then we make the other line perfectly parallel to that first line. So we have 2 lines, top to bottom. You can see where Kyle's at on the left. You can still see a little bit of tape. What this allows us to do is we start out with a 16-footer, and then we keep subtracting 4. So 16, 12, 8, and 4. That leaves 0 waste. Then you put a 16-foot piece staggering up each side of that, and then on the far right, we have custom lengths that we need to measure. But now here's the thing. Once we measure that for the first time, the cut guy can just keep doing his 16, 12, 8, and 4, and out of the scraps, he can cut then the filler pieces on the far right. Now, as we mentioned at the beginning of the video, we are not doing any caulking at the butt joints. Instead, we're following LP's instructions, and we're putting pan flashing, which is just a little 5x8 piece of metal that we buy for about 50 or 60 cents a piece. We have an additional coat of paint on those butt joints. That's why they show up white. That is per LP's detail. What this means is that the panel, as it gets wet, can expand, if it will expand, and that the homeowner doesn't have to do any maintenance on those butt joints. So easy for us, saves a lot of time and headache for the homeowner down the road. Since this is a little hard on the lower back, we switch off halfway through. Because what are we, hardwood flooring guys? No way. By the way, out of those measurements, we only had 6 inches of waste per course.
Okay, Kyle and I were both wrong. We switched off halfway through because it fills your lower back with galactic acid. I think that was about 50, 55 pieces. I'll put the timestamp because I don't actually know what time it is. Anyway, we're gonna lift this guy after lunch. It's gonna tie in there, come across. This back wall will be standard height so that we have access to lift materials, like setting some of our beams.
Hey, did you guys know that we have a new Awesome Framers member for our crew? It is the Mini Form Busters by Dude Tools. This dude is amazing. Good job, Mini Form Buster. Good job.
So those yellow brackets were custom engineered for us. We have the engineer stamp and custom fabricated. That way we're legal when it comes to rigging, and we know what our ratings are and what our loads are. And that Dude Tools Form Buster is like the bomb biggity. We loved our Birk Bar Juniors, but some stupid kids stole them out of the wall cavities. So we bought the Form Buster, and I love those things. We recently did a foundation, and they're great. They're just great. This is the last of the big walls to lift. Went in like a dream. That 16-inch soffit, again, acts like a strongback, keeps those top plates nice and straight, means less braces down the road, and nice and stiff during the lift. And now we are ready for our one standard height exterior wall on the main floor. That's a 9-foot wall, but doesn't it look tiny? So there it is. We have our block line. We're gonna have sheathing that connects down through the rim to the mudsill. Our sheathing is run 3/4 of an inch up on the rim that is already pre-attached. There's our guardrail. That's the only guardrail we needed to put except around the stairwell openings. You might have noticed in the previous 2 videos, and if you didn't, you're gonna notice now, we don't overlap any of our top plates, so they're all square cut. That makes it much easier to put together. What about strength? Easy. We just strap all those walls with the same CS coil strap that we used around those windows that the engineer spec'd. If it's good enough for earthquakes, it's good enough for earthquakes.
Hey, that's my ankle. 4,000 years. Come on now, come on now. Back. There. From your tears. Hey. Yeah, this is so much easier. I really wish I was walking a wall, Kyle. Okay, let me re-toenail that because I did a bad job.
Why do they call them toenails? Don't shoot my foot. Not my word.
I think the rest looks pretty good.
Yeah, you should be able to. Okay.
All right. Kyle gets to do the blocking.
Yeah, I cut it.
So the rim is attached, the sheathing is nailed through that. We have our guardrail installed, we'll just have to fill in on the ends. Yes, right now the stairwell is not protected. It's only Kyle in there. He's very cognizant of it. As soon as this wall's up, we go ahead and reinstall that guardrail. So it only comes down for a few minutes. What Kyle does is he gets it on the line and then he's able to use one of those Simpson Strong Tie SDWC big structural screws at each end. And now we are locked in. We can go ahead and beat the bottom to the line, nail it down, and we are good to go. Since this wall is sandwiched between the wall to the left and the wall to the right, as you go up as the operator, go nice and slow. That gives your spotter a chance to see if it's pinching anywhere. And if it is, he can kind of bounce those big tall walls and let it unpinch, so to speak, unbind. Is that even a word? You get the point. And we made it to the floor framing. So we cut a 2x4 109 and 1/8 and make sure that it matches our back wall. It's gonna be somewhere between 109 and 1/8 and 109 and 1/4. So whatever that back wall is, that's what you wanna cut it. We go ahead and we spot that at all corners. We snap lines on the long runs, and on short runs we don't. We just align the rim board, which is now a ledger, it's not a rim. So, super easy process. But let me just walk you through a couple of the things that we do. The attachment of the 2x10 ledger. Just like a deck ledger, we tack it with nails, and then we use Simpson Strong Tie SDWC 5-inch screws with the correct fastening schedule that they provide. And that's good enough for our engineer. Now, some people freaked out on Instagram when I showed this because they thought, well, I don't want to rely on the fasteners. Never mind that the whole house relies on fasteners. But if there's something to notice, first of all, like there, we go ahead and we snap our line, and we're gonna line everything up so that it lands on studs. You can also see that our fire block line, those 4x6s, that's right there at the top of that 2x10. This is a very common detail in light commercial. Our ledger is supporting the floor, but all of our exterior walls are supporting the loads all the way from the roof, all the way down to the foundation. So yes, we are relying on these big structural fasteners, but that's okay because they've been engineered, tested, and a safety factor applied. So this floor is way stronger than it needs to be. It's way stronger than any loads that it will ever see, maybe is a better way to say it. One thing to note here, notice the fire blocks to the right where I'm at and to the left where Kyle's at. In the middle, we don't have any fire blocks. We had flat blocking for the sheathing. That's because the top plate on that single ply LVL effectively seals that cavity, and the cavity can only go as high as the window up above. So it's not gonna get into the floor system because of the rim, and there's nowhere else for it to go. So if you see some blocks missing, that's the thinking there. Now, I bet you there's a few of you that are thinking, well, this is a lot slower than running around and installing rim on top of the walls. All told, it only took us an hour to run all of the rim and screw it all to the wall and lay it out. Yes, it's off ladder work, but there is no place for us to fall. That 6060 window is closed, not gonna fall through it, and everywhere else we've eliminated the height hazard. And since the rim on the back wall was installed before we lifted it and laid out, we don't have to get up there either. So I would rather personally, and a lot of this is preference, excluding safety rules, I would rather spend some time on a ladder. It's only a couple steps up, even for a short guy like me. And I need the training for hiking anyway. So that's my opinion only, is I would much rather do this than get around and run around on the walls.
Okay, I'll do that in. I'll put this guy in.
Do it.
8 and 11. Hey!
Here it is in real time how those 6-inch or 5-inch SDWC, I never remember what our box is, SDWC structural screws. These are the same screws that you would use to attach your deck ledger if you were building yourself a deck. It goes all the way in, right through the end of that 2x6 stud, and they don't split. They are remarkable screws. So we prefer the 5-inch screw length, but sometimes we use the 3-inch, which usually we just use for our guardrails. So right there, that's a 3-inch screw, and that I only put that in because the 2x10 was a little bit cupped. For all of the actual structural connections, 2 foot on center, as well as into all of the king studs, we use the 5-inch screws. I think we were still using up the tub of 6-inch.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I say we joist all this and then we try the ledger and straighten out that wall.
Okay. All right, so 14 footers.
So this house was designed with I-joists, clear spanning, running east-west. You notice though, we're installing 2x10s north-south or front to back. That's because lumber prices had skyrocketed, and so I asked our engineer, can you spec beams in these locations and verify that 2x10s 24 on center will meet the span rating, as well as, comfort and vibration, all that good stuff. And so he did, and he didn't even charge us for it. This is why I love this guy so much. Prices had gone up so much, our lumber salesman called us and said, I-joists are gonna go up $4 a foot, and they don't have enough to even do the floor as is. So essentially, we'd have to wait until they came in, and we'd pay $4 more a foot after prices had already doubled. Yeah, so you wanna know how much money we saved? We figure about $8,000. The logical question is, what are the trade-offs? Well, one, the beam depth is more than the joist, and so that's gonna get boxed around with drywall. But that was a cosmetic thing that we know our customers couldn't care less about. And number two is the fact that we're not using I-joists, so I-joists are known for being about perfectly straight. But these spans are so short, and the dug fir that we get here, our 2x10s were nice. We just crown them as we go and cull out the ugly ones. So our customer will not be able to tell the difference between the I-joist floor that was spanning 20 feet, clear spanning 20 feet, and a 2x10 24 on center that is spanning 12 feet. So now it's just a matter of getting into rhythm. Crown the rafter, climb the ladder, nail them through the hanger, turn up the music, rinse, lather, repeat. These are, I think, Simpson Strong Tie LUS 210 hangers, so they're double shear, which means 2 16-penny nails, hand drive through the flanges, and that allows for less nails overall. So I just hand nailed. Felt good. Felt like I was 15 again, and the guys wouldn't let me use a nail gun, so I had to learn how to hand nail.
Love will never.
And of course we get to the rim and we have a bow in it. Easy. We flipped it over. That put the end up off of the plate on my end. One of those structural screws up from the bottom, through the plates into the rim, pulled it down nice and tight. Now we can nail it off. Because we're on ladders, we want to finish everything as we go. So Kyle cuts me some drywall backing. I can install that. That way we don't have to come back and do it later.
Okay, I want to show you around the house. So this is the third time in the last year and a half that we've built this floor plan, but this time we were able to do what we had wanted to do the previous 2 times, and that is build the walls full 2-story height at one time, balloon frame them. Couldn't do it on the other sites, it was too wet, forklift would get stuck, but this site, it works out perfectly in the back. So let me show you what the thought process was and how we went about doing this. There's quite a lot to show. First of all, what is balloon framing? Balloon framing is full height walls. Normally we would platform frame like this guy. So 9-foot wall, joists on top, and then normally we would have the wall above that. This time we went all 18 feet. That stud length was 212 inches. Give you kind of just a frame of reference. So we started with this guy, framed it full height, set the window sided on the outside, what we could, frame the fireplace bump out attached to the wall so it leaned out right over the cantilever. That wall's 2 stories high. We were able to set the windows that we had before we lifted the wall. Let me take you over here. This has 4x6 blocking because that is entirely strapped across for shear loads, and then it continues on up. So you get the point. Balloon framing is full height walls uninterrupted by the floor. This particular wall, I framed the bump out on the outside of it. We framed the roof. That is fully sheathed and roofed so that we didn't have to do anything off ladders. Soffits are all installed. This wall here, full height, fully sided, all the way down to about here. We'll tie that in to the mud cell. Okay, a couple things I wanted to show. We keep a few I-joists in our boneyard because we use them as strongbacks when we form foundations, but because the studs can get a little squirrely, with just like maybe 4 screws, specifically, let me show you. With these on just a few studs, it basically pulls that wall into line. We set the beam. This is a nice continuous load path all the way across to tie the house together. It also minimizes bracing. But that I-joist saves us a ton of work and quite a bit of bracing. Takes like 3 minutes to install. So how does the floor system attach? Well, obviously in the back, we went standard height. So this is platform framed. Joists are on top of the wall, and that allowed us to have access from the back. With the truss jib, we can actually reach to the very front of the house. So all of these walls were set from the back with the truss jib. I love that thing. Oh, I love that thing. So floor system lands on the wall there. It's ledgered everywhere else, so just like a deck. So we nail them into the sides because there's almost no load. And then all of the ledgers get 3 6-inch SDWC screws basically behind every joist hanger all the way across. And you can see we threw in a couple extra. You can see how that works. That's all there is to it. We made sure and used the right size nail in the hangers to double shear because that's helping to hold the wall to the floor system. Floor system sheeting, of course, will go and nail into all of that. So, why did we decide to do that? The short answer is this is a 3-story house out the front, plus the gables. So the gable up there, and you'll see this in the B-roll, it's already sided. We want to eliminate high work and ladder work wherever possible. So for just a little extra time on the ground, we don't have to get on ladders later. This is massive, by the way. That means that for every wall, we only rig it one time, we only lay out one set of plates, we only pack studs one time, we never have to go get material to sheet the wall and then do the same thing above. We do that all at once. Additionally, there's almost no shrinkage in the wall at each floor, especially summertime. These studs have been out here for a while, they are bone dry. So that means less drywall cracking down the road. So for Kyle and me, as a two-person crew, we're able to do almost all of our work flat on the deck. It's safer, it's easier on us. It's a little scary to lift those walls, but we're rigging certified, forklift certified, all that good stuff. We've done it for a long time, and we've got custom engineered, fabricated, designed, and approved lifting brackets, so we know that we're good and safe on all of that. I should probably point out my mistake though. You'll see it in the B-roll. Somehow I did all of the math right on this front rake wall, so it's 2 stories plus the rake. And then I wrote down the wrong number. So it was 11 inches short. So anyway, live and learn. Always, you know, Awesome Framers never makes the same mistake twice. So thousands of mistakes in, we're still finding ways to make new ones. You'll see it with the drone footage. Basically, I built up those plates before we lifted the wall. This is the face of an idiot. Ah, man, never get overconfident. I wasn't even overconfident, I'm just an idiot. So anyway, we're gonna we're gonna frame the stairs tomorrow, and then we're going to sheet it. I feel like there's something else I was gonna show. Anyway, when this lands on YouTube, there's gonna be tons of B-roll showing the siding, hanging windows, trimming the windows. We were able to do all of that. Well, almost all of it. We were a few windows short, like maybe 80%, 85%. We were able to do it before lifting the wall. So, work smarter, not harder. Okay, I gotta get out of here. There's nothing left. Oh, I know. For those of you that are skeptical, can you really set a window in a wall before you lift it and have the reveals look good? Will it operate correctly? I'm not gonna lie, they're not always this good, but this one's pretty stinking good. The reveal looks good all the way around the frame. Boom. Ah, it's so easy. Doesn't always work out this way, but oh man, when we can do this kind of stuff, it makes work more fun. It's safer, it's faster, it's more efficient, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? It's more fun. That's to me. We save loads of time, so you get to justify it that way.
Okay, so there's the floor all framed. We just have to add a little bit to the guardrails on each side. We like to frame the stairs before we sheet the floor, so that's gonna be the next step. All of our layout started at that bottom right corner, moving from right to left and from bottom to top. So 2 foot on center, everything stacks. Now, if you look really closely, notice that we have an I-joist screwed to the wall, the big tall walls on the left and on the right. We keep those in our boneyard for foundation work, but it reduces the amount of bracing that we need to do, and it pulls all of those long studs straight, nice and flat. Then once we sheet the wall, actually it'll be one of the last things we take down as we work from the roof all the way back down to the basement. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something. Like I always say, we're not doing it the best way. We're just doing it the way that works well for us at this point. Everything is iterative. I follow a former engineer for the Starlink system, awesome Milky Way photographer. Lonely Spec is his name, Ian Norman. And he talks about engineering as an iterative process. You just know that when you do something, the next time you do it, you'll improve. And I guess that would describe this process for us. We've never actually balloon framed the entire house like this. We've just balloon framed select walls. But this is definitely something we're going to keep doing. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you in the next video.